Did you know that nearly half of women report being distressed with their orgasms? Now, distress can mean that they wish they orgasmed quicker, they wish they more often had orgasms, or they were overall just dissatisfied with how quickly or easily they were getting orgasms. I'm Dr. Reena Malek, urologist and pelvic surgeon, and today we're going to talk about research that looked at what activities during partnered sex actually improved orgasms for women. I want to preface this by saying that while orgasms are not a requirement for pleasure, certainly having an orgasm is positively linked with having a more pleasurable sexual experience. So, what increases the likelihood that a woman will orgasm more quickly? A group of researchers studied over 2,000 women to find out the different things that people do during sex that affect how long it takes to reach orgasm, how pleasurable the orgasm is, and how easy or difficult it is to have the orgasm. They looked at 3 sets of women from the United States on Reddit or Facebook research pages, from Hungary on similar websites, or from a Hungarian university. All these women had to have been in a sexual relationship, and they took a very detailed survey with 42 questions looking at their sexual history, the characteristics of their relationships, and several other items related to orgasm and arousal during both partnered sex and masturbation. They also measured what's called orgasmic latency, which was self-reported. Orgasmic latency is the time it takes for someone to reach orgasm, whether in the setting of partnered sex or masturbation. As a baseline, these women were young, with an average age of 29. About 20% had some depression and anxiety, and 13% reported never having an orgasm. That may seem like a really high number, but in fact it's consistent with multiple other studies that show about 12% of women never have orgasms. When asked about the activities they did during partnered sex, it was no surprise that the most common was vaginal intercourse, reported by 94% of the participants. This was followed by oral stimulation of their partner's genitals, reported by almost 80%, oral stimulation of their genitals by the partner, reported by about 75%, and manual stimulation by their partner, also reported by about 75%. Lastly, clitoral stimulation was reported by about 61%. They also reported several other activities that were less common, such as anal stimulation, using aids like toys, incorporating sexual fantasies which could be kink-related, and mutual masturbation, all of which occurred in less than 20% of women. The researchers then divided these activities into 3 groups, one being just vaginal penetration alone with no other activities. The second group, a conventional group, involved vaginal penetration with something more common, and the last group was less conventional. Incorporating those less common activities like anal stimulation, sexual fantasy, and so on. What they found was that the time it takes to reach orgasm wasn't really affected by how conventional or unconventional the activity was, but pleasure was. In fact, they had more pleasure with more unusual activities. However, they also found that difficulty with orgasm also changed with how unconventional the activity was. The more unconventional the activity, the easier it became for them to orgasm. Lastly, in terms of relationship satisfaction, they found that how satisfied women were in their relationships influenced all factors: how long it took to orgasm, how good it felt, and how hard or easy it was to achieve orgasm. Does this mean that you should start adding unconventional activities into your sex life if you're not? Not necessarily. I think the major bias of the study is that the women who chose to participate were actually self-selecting they wanted to participate in a sexual survey. Some of those who engage in less conventional activities might do so because they're more liberal in terms of communicating with their partner and feel more comfortable talking about their likes and dislikes, hence they are able to maximize their pleasure. You may be wondering what activities were more likely to increase pleasure, or if there were any activities that made women orgasm more quickly. In terms of pleasure, the activities that had the biggest impact were when the partner provided oral stimulation to the genitals, manual stimulation by the partner, and clitoral stimulation. For those of you who've been on this channel for a long time, this probably doesn't come as a surprise because you already know that the clitoris is the homologue of the penis, and stimulating the clitoris is the most reliable source for achieving orgasm. If you want to learn more about the clitoris, make sure you check out my video about shocking facts about the clitoris. In terms of orgasmic latency, meaning how long it took to orgasm, women who received manual stimulation and clitoral stimulation from their partner did tend to orgasm faster compared to those who didn't engage in these activities, but it was only about 1 to 2 minutes faster. On average, that meant going from 16 minutes down to 14 minutes. If you remember from one of my prior videos, we talked about how long it takes to reach climax, and it probably takes the average woman about 12 minutes to reach climax. So, let's break it down what really matters to increase pleasure and improve orgasms in a relationship. The first most important thing is relationship satisfaction. Relationship satisfaction was a huge predictor of all things related to orgasm, likely because if you're happy in your relationship, it improves your sex life as well. For example, if you're in a more satisfying relationship, you're probably going to talk about sex with your partner more, feel closer to them, feel connected, and desire them, which will lead to enjoying each other's pleasure. The next thing you can do is consider incorporating clitoral stimulation. This comes up again and again because, as I said before, the clitoris is the most reliable and consistent route to pleasure and orgasm for the majority of women. So, take what God gave you. You have fingers, you have a mouth, or you can incorporate sex toys to help achieve clitoral stimulation. This is not a replacement, it is just a tool for pleasure. Lastly, consider increasing your sexual repertoire. This is not mandatory, not everyone is open to or interested in trying new things, but it can be adventurous and exciting, and perhaps lead to more pleasure in the bedroom. Of course, make sure you talk to your partner before trying anything new. Have the conversation outside the bedroom and ensure both you and your partner are comfortable with the idea, because it can be very daunting and scary to bring something up in a very intimate moment. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to check out my last video from last week about positions that improve sexual pleasure. I also want to make a quick announcement. I have now moved to Orange County and will be seeing patients in my Newport Beach office as well as through telemedicine. If you are not in the states that I'm licensed in, I can still see you for an educational visit, but please note I cannot give a diagnosis or treatment during an educational visit. As always, remember to take care of yourself because you're worth it.